create to get some assistance within the enterprise zone to assist your business, because most of your need was in the rural parts of Wisconsin. Well, the Assembly passed it and the Senate passed it, but when it went to Governor Doyle's desk, he line item vetoed everything out of it that said rural. So it became a Jobs Act and an Enterprise Zone Act, but it was specific, just wasn't specific to rural. So it, all of a sudden what it did is it changed it to Madison, Milwaukee, Beloit, Janesville, and rural Wisconsin got left out. So that was unfair as far as I'm concerned to northern Wisconsin and to any rural communities in Wisconsin. So what this bill does is it brings it partially back to its original intent. And when I drafted the bill, it was to create 4 more rural enterprise zones, and they have to be in rural zones. So in a population of 0 to 5,000, we created 2 new enterprise zones. In population centers of 5,000 to 30,000, we created 2 more. In the process of going through the Assembly and the Senate and discussions and committees and that stuff, there was people that actually wanted to increase that number, and I was fine with that. You know, I didn't want to shoot for the moon, and if they want to increase it, that's fine. So, and also make some qualifications in it that there has to be a need. Well, that actually is part of the original bill anyway. Commerce decides if there's a need, and that's where the enterprise zones are created. So when it, in the final analysis, we ended up with going from 12 to 20. So there's actually going to be 8 more enterprise zones. 5 of them are now going to be in rural zones. So there's going to be 2 in 0 to 5,000, and there's going to be 3 in 5,000 to 30,000, and 3 more general enterprise zones throughout the state. So, and also the the 3 additional. So it'll be 20 total.
So where are those areas identified? Have they been identified?
No, and that's what the Commerce Department will do. And need is part of the issue. So what, let's say something in Spooner happens to come and a business wants to come in and there's a need for assistance, the Commerce Department will look at that need and create an enterprise zone up here. Another modification I was going to mention is that when you get these voting population centers, it can be more than one municipality. So like the village of, well, let's say there was a village of Spooner and a city of Spooner, they could combine, or a township and a municipality, so it's a voting block, so you could actually have 2 or 3 different municipalities involved in the same enterprise zone. But then Commerce will also look at it in areas of the state that may need this help. But there's going to be situations where there might be quite a few empty buildings within a small community, and they would make a request to them and say, you know, we need help, and the enterprise zone could be created for that municipality. It can be done based on a request, or it can be done based on a need. So it can come from Commerce, or it can be asked for by Commerce. Yes?
Yes, I have no idea what an enterprise zone is. Is there a way you can quickly, what's it supposed to do that stuff that's already out there existing doesn't?
Like, yeah, when you got, you know, I've worked on economic development for the last 20, 30 years, well, actually all my life. But when you get into a bigger city, let's say Madison, Milwaukee, they have the assets, they have the ability to give tax credits, give them free land, and there's all kinds of things they can do to draw businesses in. The smaller the community, the less the resources. So when you get into the Spooners of the world and the Shiteks of the world, and even Rice Lake, you know, I worked on their economic development for years. We have more ability than smaller communities than Rice Lake. We have an industrial park, and we have a program for job credits for jobs created in the city. There's economic development corporations in some of the large areas that will help. So what this is designed to do is to give the smaller communities in rural Wisconsin the same advantages as Milwaukee and Madison have. I mean, they can pick up a bunch of money in tax revenues and be able to help a business come in that's going to hire 100 employees. Your smaller communities just don't have those assets. They just don't have those abilities. So this gives them the ability through the state of Wisconsin to give the tax credits and give the investment credits and different things like that for rural areas.
Okay, how is this different than from a TIF or a TID district? Like
TIF district,
City of Spooner has that, and
that's a local thing, and the local communities create those. And what they do is they'll say, okay, this part of the city, we are going to call this a TID. And what happens is you spend, let's say, $1 million doing the infrastructure in this TID. And, well, how do you pay for that $1 million? Well, right now you don't have any businesses in there, and you don't have any taxable revenue because maybe it's a vacant field or something like that. So you say, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pay for this TIF district, or TID district, with tax revenues, but we don't have enough because there isn't anybody there yet. We're hoping they come. So you take that $1 million that you have to pay, and you have to go to the school districts and all the taxable districts within that area and say, okay, we're gonna create this TID, and we're gonna take and we're gonna, you're not gonna get as much money, because that part of it's gonna go and pay for this TID. And you're literally, everybody has to pool and pay for it. And then as the growth and development comes, and the businesses come, the tax base is created, and it starts to pay for this thing, and eventually the theory is that you get this great big chunk of all these business and everything, the tax revenues start coming in, and it'll benefit the school districts, it'll benefit everybody, because then ultimately their tax liability will go down. So you say, you make an initial investment, all the taxes go to pay for this thing, and when it gets paid off, everybody benefits. So when you create a TID, you do have to get permission from all the different taxing entities within that district to allow you to do it.
Yeah, we already have that. So how was your build? How's the...
It's a completely different thing. An enterprise zone is specific to not so much infrastructure and stuff like that. A TID is generally to create infrastructure and build, not land, buildings either, because that's part of it. Mostly it's for infrastructure. It's for your roads and your, maybe a sewer district and different things like that. Enterprise zone is basically a zone where if you come in with a business and you create jobs and you build your own personal bigger building and invest in millions of dollars of equipment, you give them tax credits, you give them benefits and assistance to do that. So it's more specific to a business. A TID is specific to a community and their infrastructure.
Could you have both existing at the same place? I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely. That could very well happen, yes.
Are there any modifications to the environmental regulations that are part of these enterprise zones or these taxing districts?
As far as environment, no.
Nothing at all?
Not that I know of. They have to abide by it. There's no changes to their, what they have to do.
Well, what I'm guessing, or asking is whether the statutes that you're proposing, or someone is proposing, will be in lieu of environmental regulation.
And for the people that just got here, if you have any personal issues, we're going to maybe make this more of a forum and a town hall. But if you do have something you want to talk to me personally about, which, and it's private, we will actually do that at, when we're done or whatever. So if it can be done in a forum like this, that's fine if everybody agrees to it. If somebody has a personal one, we'll do that separately.
Okay, there was some talk that there, in the watershed zones, we're at zero phosphorus, and at some point that I saw that went away, that phosphorus was going to come back, and have you heard anything from Wisconsin Lakes and Streams and other people who have said, please don't do that?
If I remember right, the phosphorus rules that were going to be in place, they did a 2-year moratorium on the new rules.
I think so.
And they're going to hold off so more research can be done and figure out what the cost is going to be, because it was quite stringent and I'm just going off memory. It was beyond what the federal rules were, and they want to roll it back to that and do a little more research on it. But there's a moratorium on it right now.
But there will be protection for the watershed. Can we